Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our partners and our participants from all over the world. We have and are expecting over 200 participants here today from the Americas, from Europe, from Asia. I thank you all for taking the time to join us here for a very exciting webinar we have set up for you this morning. I will just ask, please, as a courtesy, to turn off your mics, to turn off your cameras, and to please be conscious, that this is being recorded. And we are happy to have you all here today. We have a special guest with us, Brandon Bornancin, who is going to be leading our webinar here today. And I wanted to say a special thank you to Brandon for joining us, and I will be introducing him in a little bit. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, the Shriner Negotiation Institute, we welcome you. My name is Sabine Mirza. I am the Managing Director of Global Markets here at the Institute. Many of you do know me. Many of you are already working with us. And again, we are excited to see so many familiar faces. I do ask you to follow us on social media. Many of you, of course, already do. You can engage with us there across all of our platforms. You can also listen and subscribe to our official podcast. It's called Deadlock. Many of you are already listeners. We thank you for your engagement. We thank you for continuously being a critical part of our podcast and the journey. And for those of you that are listening to this podcast, you know that it's a weekly podcast, and we are interviewing and sharing insights from industry leaders, thought leaders, thinkers, practitioners, people at the top of their field, to really talk about what's going on in the world today, and also their ideas and their principles and their insights for how we can navigate, how we can get through current events like the pandemic, and how we can also, of course, improve our own approach to our business, to deal making, decision making, and negotiation. For those of you that are not familiar with our institute, we are the International Negotiation Authority. We were founded by Matthias Schreiner, who is still our acting global CEO. Matthias Schreiner was a former hostage negotiator. And those of you that are familiar with his story, you will have known this. He's written several books about it. He began his career in law enforcement in Germany. And he rose through the ranks. He was a crisis negotiator, a hostage negotiator. He worked for many years undercover in the drug enforcement agency there. And when he left law enforcement, he realized there was a huge opportunity to merge and to translate a lot of the tools, the tactics, the strategies that were utilized in the field by negotiators, de-escalating hostage situations, for example. There was a huge opportunity to translate that into the business world. From very humble beginnings 30 years ago, today we are a global firm with offices in New York City, where I sit, in Zurich, in Dubai, in Hong Kong. We have a global presence. We provide local support. And of course, we provide international expertise. Now, as an international negotiation authority, we have 5 core capabilities. And as an organization, we serve our partners globally through 5 key business units. And one of these units is what we're going to be talking about with Brandon here today. And Brandon will shed a little bit more insights on how we kind of navigate this. But in a nutshell, there are 5 areas in which we service our clients as a negotiation authority. Executive education, so we do training, seminars, workshops. Management consulting, where we do strategy, playbooks, transformation initiatives. We do active deal advisory, where we support you in specific negotiation cases, real time. Of course, we have an insights, research, and analytics division, which I oversee through my division as well here in New York, and events, which we'll talk about. Many of you have attended, and Brandon, our VIP guest here today, will also be speaking at an upcoming global event as well. So very quickly, let's get into the meat of the matter. What I quickly wanted to talk to you guys about is selling versus negotiating. Okay, and this is a very, very, very important point. And I see a lot of familiar faces here today. Many of you have been in seminars with me, have been in seminars with some of my colleagues and our other faculty members. But one thing we always talk about is that there is a critical difference between selling and negotiating. As an international negotiation authority, Our work exists solely in the universe of negotiations. That is not to say that sales doesn't play an important part, which it does. Because if you are selling properly, the right way, with the right attitude, with the right approach, with the right skills, with the right targets, that will segue seamlessly into an effective, impactful, powerful negotiation position. And many of you know, and this is a gripe that a lot of you have, by the time the deals come to you to negotiate or get to the negotiation teams, a lot of times commitments have been made in sales. A lot of times things have been promised in the sales process that cut your legs out from under you by the time you get to negotiating. And what this highlights is a critical need for strategic internal alignment. So, what is the core difference between selling and negotiating? In our universe, in the Schreiner negotiation world and the Schreiner concept of negotiations, selling is about making arguments, finding fit for purpose, convincing, discussing value, building the relationships, really building that trust, and really reeling the clients, the partners, the vendors, whoever you're selling to, uh, reeling them in so that they are eager and excited and committed to engaging with you. You are selling the value of you, the person, you, the company, you, the product owner of your solution, etc. This is what we know, right? But then how is negotiation different? If selling is about convincing, it's about defining who you are and how you're different, your features, benefits, USPs, all of that. What is negotiations? Negotiations is none of that. Negotiating is simply about making demands, right? So if in the sales process, you are convincing them of value and hooking them into a long-term partnership with your firm where they are convinced they need you to realize their business goals, negotiating is now about the terms under which they accept that value from you. So today, we have a very special guest that will be talking about the sales aspect of the entire deal making process and how you can sell powerfully, impactfully, effectively, efficiently, especially in a crisis. How do we do business development in a global pandemic? And I'm going to read you his bio because it's extremely impressive. And we're extremely excited to have him. He is a sales guru of sorts. And Brandon Bornancin, just reading off his bio, is a serial salesperson, has sold over $100 million in sales. He's a two-time multi-million dollar tech entrepreneur, sales speaker 15 times, and I believe it's 16 times now, Brandon, sales author, obsessed with helping you maximize your sales results. Brandon is currently the CEO and founder at Seamless.ai, a software platform that delivers the world's best sales leads with the first real-time B2B sales search engine powered by artificial intelligence. He has helped through Seamless.ai, over 50,000 and counting companies to flood their calendars and generate millions and millions in sales. So he's also the podcast host of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%. He interviews the world's best sales experts. I can go on and on and on. He does a number of pro bono work. But if we're talking about the world's best sales experts, Brandon, I would say you're up there, top three, if not number one in our book. So Brandon Bornancin, founder and CEO of Seamless.ai, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Wow. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sabine. Thank you, Schreiner Negotiation Institute, and everyone on the line. I truly appreciate you. And, I love working with winners, and round of applause to everyone on the line today for taking the time to jump on this webinar. We're going to make it jam-packed, valuable, interactive for everyone involved.
Absolutely. And Brandon, thank you for being here. And for those of you that are on today, Brandon does have a number of slides that he has kindly and graciously agreed to share with you guys following the webinar about some of the topics that he's going to be discussing today. Brandon, really, for the next 40 minutes or so, it's your show. Why don't you kick things off and give us a little bit of a background on how you started, under what authority are you here with us today to talk about sales and selling, and how did you get to where you are here now?
Yeah, just a quick background. So I came from Cleveland, Ohio. For anyone that follows sports, right around where LeBron James came from, and my mom and dad came from a very blue collar, low class family. Mom worked at a bank and a grocery store 70 to 80 hours a week, pretty much making minimum wage. My dad sold computers at Macy's, the retail store. So in 1980s, Macy's, the retail stores, used to sell computers. And then on the weekends, he did construction. One day, he was selling computers like Apple computers, and a sales executive from a high tech startup at the time came up to buy a computer from him. And eventually, he was so impressed with my father selling him the computer at Macy's, he offered him an internship for $22,000 to join that tech startup. He was making $32,000 at Macy's. I ended up convincing my mom that this computer thing and tech could be the future. He then joins this tech company, and for the next 10 years goes from sales intern with no college degree to inside sales manager to outside sales AE to sales director to VP of sales, managing 1,000 people, building the first billion-dollar software company in the US in 1987 and taking it public. So I got to see firsthand what it's like to go from super poor to super wealthy because of sales. And that company was called Computer Associates at the time. No one on Wall Street believed that any SaaS company would build a billion-dollar company. I got to see firsthand my father do it. That inspired me to get into sales and entrepreneurship. When I went to college when I was 18, I launched a company that did $10 million in sales for the poker industry. So here in the US and globally, in 2004, online poker was massive. So I built a crawler and a list of all the college students, and then I would sell and market to all of them via email marketing and also door-to-door knocking, dorm to dorm. Did that for the next 3 years. So built this $10 million business at 18, 19, 20. Was one of the richest kids in college. Wall Street Journal, named it, and Forbes named it one of the top 10 dorm-based companies of the decade. And then online gambling became illegal in the US and it disappeared. So I launched a second company at the age of 22 called InMobile, text message marketing, mobile phones. For the next 3.5 years, I ran that company into the ground, lost $3.5 million, went $100,000 in debt. And it was mainly because of two things. Number one, I didn't have the list of the people I needed to sell my B2B software to. Number two, I didn't know how to pitch, close, negotiate with all these B2B Fortune 500 C-suite executives at the age of 22, 23, 24. My first company was B2C, poker, selling poker to anyone. Online poker is easy. Selling a $1 million, $100,000 B2B text message marketing software to a CMO, a CTO, CIO was very difficult. So losing everything I owned, going into bankruptcy, I'm like, okay, I'm quitting entrepreneurship. I'm a failure. I'm a loser. I will never be successful again. And then you go into pity for the next 2 weeks or a month, right? And then after you get your shit together, you realize, okay, I got to go and make some money. So I was like, what's the best company in the world that everyone knows that I could easily sell to? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go sell for IBM and Google. So I went and sold for IBM because it was the biggest company at the time in tech. And when I was selling for IBM, and then eventually I left IBM to join and sell for Google. When I was selling for IBM and Google, I found it very difficult, time expensive, and just time consuming to find all the people that I needed to sell to. So I was friends with the founders of Google, and I was friends with Guy Kawasaki, who advised Steve Jobs, and Jeff Bezos at the time with Amazon, and just all of these really high-powered executives at these high-tech companies just through my network and my father's network. And I was telling them, hey, why is it so difficult to find all the people that you need to sell to? We should just build a search engine that finds all the people that you need to sell to, all the emails, all the cell phones for everyone that you need to sell to. So instantly in real time, you can connect to opportunity and connect to anyone in seconds. So I built this prototype for myself to automate selling. And then over the next 24 months, went from a few $1 million in sales to $100 million in sales. That was the first year I made over $1 million as a salesperson. And at the time when I made over 6 figures a month, every month, and then over, millions of dollars in sales in a year, that was when I was like, it is my mission to help every salesperson, marketer, and entrepreneur accomplish the same thing that I just accomplished using this platform. So I quit selling for IBM and Google, went full-time on building my new company, Seamless.ai. And now we help 100,000 salespeople, marketers, and entrepreneurs maximize sales with the world's best sales leads.
Now, Brandon, that's a very, very impressive story, of course. And I think what people relate to the most is number one, you gave something a shot that you weren't sure was going to work. And number two, you suffered massive, massive losses. Now, over the course of your career and your very impressive and lucrative and successful sales career, you have been in a number of crises, right? You've seen the financial crisis.
Oh, yeah.
You have been through 9/11, right? You have been through previous pandemics. And right now, we're all in the middle of a pandemic unlike anything we've ever seen before. And today, we want to know a number of things. Can you first share with us, number one, how do you expect people, everyone that's on this podcast, on this webinar here today, how do you expect them, or what advice would you give them about hitting those impressive numbers, developing business, reaching out to clients, and selling in a pandemic where everybody is suffering? How are you still making money?
Yeah, no, great question. And, through a lot of hard work and through some of the strategies I'm going to share with you today, March was our largest month in company history, followed by April was number one, largest, biggest month in company history. And then March was our second largest, biggest month in company history. And I don't sell video telecommunication software, right? Which is obviously Zoom Video, Microsoft Video, all the Log Me In. Those companies are booming now that everyone's going remote. When I ran my second company through 2007 to 2009, it failed because we didn't have the pipeline, we didn't have the sales, we didn't have the activity. So when we were building Seamless, I got to pitch 337 venture capitalists when basically the economy was at an all-time high. So I was trying to fundraise for Seamless. I pitched 337 venture capitalists. 297 all told me no. And when you go to pitch a venture capitalist, it's basically like someone telling you that you're ugly, your baby's ugly, your team is ugly, you're worthless. They will sit you down. I mean, this is like Peter Thiel, Anderson Horowitz, this like the smartest people in the world, all telling you that you're gonna be a failure. This will not succeed. So like I got to see firsthand what it's like to also try to be successful and fail a lot in a big economy. But one of the biggest things that allowed me to persevere through the VC fundraising and through right now is 5 things. I'm going to go through 5 basic formulas, pillars, I call them. Number 1 is the 7-figure habits. And for those of you that don't know, I wrote 16 books called the 7-figure sales system. The first book is the 7-figure habits. So it's the mindset, belief, and habits that despite any economic condition, chaos, crisis, we will succeed. We will find a way. We will do whatever it takes to be successful. 95% of all companies are not going to pivot, are not going to change, are not going to have the belief and mindset that we're going to do whatever it takes to find the solution, find the reasoning, find the answers. Right now, more than ever, you need to have the belief to achieve, and you need to communicate with your entire team. Look, we have to embrace the pain. Right now, to do the same amount of revenue that we did before in January or in December when the economy was at an all-time high, it's going to take 300 to 500 to 1,000% the activity just to get to break even. It's like, my first company was big into poker. It's like you're going into the casino down $1,000 and you have to work really hard to get back to break even. And then you have to work even harder to make money. So let's just say $1 million to generate $1 million took 100 appointments and 10 deals. Well, now to generate $1 million, it's going to take 300 appointments, 30 deals, all that work, to generate that type of activity just to get to break even. And that's where the 7-figure habits and the 7-figure math come into play. Everyone on the team, right when the pandemic was leaving international waters into the US, I had an emergency team meeting and I said, number one, it will be 300, 500, 1,000% more work to break even to generate the same revenue results that we did before. Number two, if you don't put in 300, 500% the amount of work just to get back to where we were, if we have an increase in churn and a decrease in sales, we're going to have to lay off a lot of people.
Right.
So the whole company, myself included, is depending on you, me, everyone. We have to go all out. We are at war against the pandemic. We are at war to survive and thrive. We need to sell through this crisis. We have to give it our all, no matter what. And we have to embrace the pain, embrace this shitstorm. Let's get excited about the pain and the difficulty and the chaos we're about to go into. And then let's figure out the daily sales activity to generate 3 to 5x the results, and that will get us to break even. So I had everyone on the company, especially in sales and marketing, increase their quota by 300 to 500%, and then figure out what are the daily leads, the daily calls, the daily emails, the daily social touches, the daily appointments, the daily pitches, the daily closed one. I gave everyone a daily quota, and I multiplied that daily quota from their old number by 3 to 5x. That's the 7-figure habits and 7-figure math. Everyone's got to have the right mindset and have the math. And then the other 3 pillars, and Sabine, let's open it up to any questions on habits and the math. And then I could go into the other 3 pillars if that works for everyone.
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on the chat. So as the questions come up, Brandon, I'll send them your way.
Okay, awesome. So next, we've got, so now that you need to do 3 to 5x to 10x the level of activity to generate the pipeline just to get to even, you need the lists. So right now, times are changing. You need to get whatever technologies. I believe, you can either retract and run away during times of crisis, or you could be like a bull and run into this storm. They say bulls run into like rainstorms and snowstorms when shit gets bad. You can either be a bull and run into the market when it's a crisis, or you can run away. Right now, when you need to generate all this activity, you need to find the technologies and the solutions to help automate it, right? So how do I find every single person in the world that I need to sell to? How can I get all the technologies to automate my team's list building, prospecting, appointment setting, CRM data entry, customer acquisition results? Double down, triple down on getting the lists, the technologies to find every single person in the world that you need to sell to. So that way your sales team, who's got to do 300, 500, 1,000% the activity, has all of the non-selling work automated. And that part's critical.
Now, Brandon, let me ask you a very quick question, because I think a lot of what you just said is so inherently valuable that a lot of people don't realize. Now, I'm a product of some of the most gruesome, grind and hustle heavy sales floors on the planet. I started my career on Wall Street in a boiler room, right? So we didn't drink water, because if you had to drink water, eventually you would have to go to the bathroom. And that would add up to about 30 minutes a day where I would spend in the bathroom instead of making cold calls, or I would miss a lead. So that was the kind of boiler room environment I was kind of forged in. But you're talking about, and some of these things you're talking about are so important. In a crisis, right? You have to up your activity by 500%, 1,000% just to break even, right? So it's not that you're just going to keep coasting on what we got and rest on our laurels and the money's going to keep coming in. You have to up that activity. Absolutely. You have to pivot. You have to innovate. You have to be effective. You have to be more efficient. You have to rely on the right technologies. You have to rely on the right processes. My question to you is this. A lot of companies simply aren't built that way. Very large consulting firms, very large service and solution provider firms, right? where they are not so or as heavily sales focused as people like you and I are, as sales and core team sales are, what advice would you give them to transform quickly? Right? We don't have forever. We're going to either sink or swim in the next 30 days, right? To get through this crisis. What advice would you get them to transform quickly, seamlessly, and to start posting this kind of math, doing these kinds of things, embracing this kind of process? What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, Zabine, absolutely. The only way that you're going to survive in a crisis is you have to sell to survive right now more than ever, because this is what's going to happen. The reality is 10, 20, 30, 50% of your customers are at risk. Like retention, so churn is going to go up. No matter what, churn will go up. Customers are going to try to cancel. So if churn goes up and sales goes down, the business is out of business, right?
Yeah.
So the only way to fight churn is to put together amazing deals and value and negotiations to convince every single customer to stay with you. So like one of the things that we did to minimize churn was we value stacked the offers. And this is where the Schraner Negotiation Institute teaches you all of the best negotiation tactics, right? You need to stack the deal and 3 to 5x the value. Like let's just say you've got 5 different products that can help your customer and most of your customers on product 1. Well, when 20% of your customers want to leave, this is when you come in and you say, hey, I'm going to give you product 2, product 3 included in whatever you're paying right now. Because I know that you're fighting through a pandemic. I know that you're fighting through a crisis. So then you value stack the offer so well that they don't want to cancel. And maybe you do something like divert payments for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever you have to do. Like the way that we've been able to have record growth months was we value stacked a ton of different products to our customers to keep them. We may have even helped them with a different payment plans as they go through this tough times. So number one, churn's going to increase 5, 10, 20, 30%, 50% for some, even 100%. Look at the airlines, right?
Yeah.
Only way to fight churn is through sales. It's through one, negotiation and value stacking the deal to make sure they don't quit. But the other half of it is sales. You have to sell to survive. So the best place to learn how to sell is by reading these books, like the books that I published, the training that Schraner Negotiation Institute has. And it's also, you just have to realize everything in life is a sale. Like everything in life is a negotiation. Like you either win or you lose. Like if I want tacos and my wife wants to make steak, I have to convince her that tacos is going to be the world's best dinner tonight. Like that's a sale, that's a commission. Anyone that's not sales focused, you need to realize you better damn well get excited and bought in and all in sold that right now more than ever. I need everyone at the company, a salesperson, a marketer. We need to get out there. We need to build a pipeline. We need to sell, market to everyone. If we do not expand right now and double, triple, quadruple the activity, sales will die, churn will increase, and we will be out of business. And, people like Sabine, and the Schraner Negotiation Institute and myself won't let that happen.
Yeah, and Brandon, this is so important for everybody that's listening. What I want to mention here that Brandon keeps saying that is so powerful is you can't afford to be complacent. This is not the time, not ever. And as salespeople, we are never complacent. We're always hungry and hunting for more and more and more. But resting on history, resting on heritage, resting on a brand, that is not going to get you through this crisis. And certainly, if you look at some of the giants of industry, titans of industry that became very complacent, Brian, like let's talk about BlackBerry and let's talk about Kodak and Xerox and some of these guys. Where are they now? Nowhere, right? Complacency and an unwillingness to pivot. Now, you had mentioned 95% of companies are not going to pivot in a crisis. Why, Brandon? Why are they not pivoting? And can you please explain what it means to pivot? Because a lot of people believe that they are, but they really aren't. And this is a dead horse that I've been beating for at least the last 3 months. So from your mouth to God's ears, Brandon, let them have it, please.
Yeah. And great feedback and great advice there. Like for example, the emergency meeting that we had. You cannot. A lot of people are scared to face the pain and the truth, right? And that's why I keep saying embrace the pain, which is one of our 7-figure habits. It's painful to say to the whole team. It's painful to hold an emergency meeting with the company. It's painful to say we are in the worst economic time of our lifetime, possibly, where unemployment will get the highest ever. But the faster that everyone already knows these things. They're seeing it in the news. They're seeing it all over. So we just need to have emergency meetings with the whole company. This is the new state of the economy. What are the ideas, the strategies that we can develop to fight this? Like if you manage customer success like you're currently managing it, like there isn't a pandemic, churn will go up 25, 50%. That's why, right when we did it, had the emergency meeting, then it's like, okay, what can we do out of anything that we could do in the world to keep our customers, to ensure that they do not cancel? Because the biggest risk is current customers canceling and we lose 10% of our book of business, 25%, 50%, 100%, you name it. Because you can't build the pipeline fast enough to replace 50 to 100% of your billings, of your software or MRR, ARR. So you just need to realize, like, face the facts and then work with the team to develop the fastest negotiation strategies around there. Also, one of the things that we did was, so now that you have to do 300, 500 to 1,000% the activity, you use technology to build the lists and find everyone that you need to sell to. The next part is the prospecting, the pitching, and the closing, and the negotiation. So what we did was we put together books. So we put together playbooks for cold calling, emailing, list building, social selling. We also put together playbooks for every single sales objection. I'm not interested. It's too expensive. Send me more information. I don't have time. I'm already working with someone. I need to think about it. How much is it? We manage internally. I'm not the right person. What's your guarantee? I need to talk to my boss. So you need to develop all the playbooks for your sales team, your marketing team, your customer success team to generate all of that activity, calls, emails, social touches, you name it, to fill the pipeline with all the appointments, the opportunities, and the deals. And then your outside sales team or your AE team, like the way that I had a record March and April, April was our largest month in company history, was because we did the 5 to 10x the activity while our competitors ran away and didn't do anything. We were booking 75 to 100 appointments a day per 10 sales reps. And then we wrote these books, these playbooks. I'm not interested. It's too expensive. How much is it? We manage internally. Send me more info. I don't have time. So everyone had the scripts, the negotiation plays to overcome any single sales objection, and they could move at lightning speed. Like Sabine said when she was in the boiler room, like the only way to make a ton of activity, the only way to negotiate at predictability and at scale, to close every appointment, to close every deal, to move the deals forward, is you got to have a massive pipeline. You got to flood that calendar. And then you have to be able to pitch everyone that's in back-to-back appointments on the hour, every hour, and close them by delivering value while overcoming every single sales objection, negotiation objection thrown your way. So with all of these plays, our team was just able to move at lightning speed. And to move at lightning speed, you need the scripts, you need the objections, you need the negotiation, and then you need the activity in the list.
Correct. And this is so important because a lot of organizations, and this is not a personal attack to anybody, but a lot of times we become very comfortable. It boils down again to being comfortable and complacent. But especially in a crisis, you need to be agile. You need to be able to respond, and you need to be able to respond quickly, because you have a very small window of time during which you're going to float or you're going to sink. Now, Brandon, I have a question from the audience. It says sales is a two-way street with people needing to be receptive to what you're selling them as much as the items or the service that you're selling itself. And at times as such, companies are cutting back on CapEx spending. How would you advise us in strategizing several key pillars in the roadmap forward what are some ways to stack the deck in your favor and get the leads to be receptive? This is a great question. Thank you, Daryl. Basically, you could be receptive and you could be eager, but your leads are not. How do you get them to be receptive, Brandon?
Yeah, great question, Daryl. Thanks so much for joining us today. Two ways to get your prospects receptive in the worst economic time of our lifetime. Hook and offer. I think of Muhammad Ali, like the left hook, the left jab is the hook, the knockout punch, the right jab is the offer. So one, you have to hook them with curiosity. So when you're reaching out, you have to leverage curiosity, a better way, a smarter way, an idea, a strategy, you name it, some type of curiosity hook to get them to want to learn more. Your goal isn't like when reaching out to close a deal or to book the appointment, right? I know many of you are doing multi-million-dollar deals like I was doing at IBM and Google, or many of you are doing high transaction deals, whether it's in manufacturing, software, fintech, financial services, you name it. The first way is to hook. You have to bring like, hey, I've got an idea to help you book 75 to 100 appointments a day, and it only takes 10 minutes a day. Can I share more with you? So like coming up with a list of different hooks, knowing your persona, that if they read that hook or heard you deliver that hook, they'd be like, who is this guy? I'm interested. And then the right knockout punch is the offer. So when I was selling for IBM and Google, it was during the other pandemic, the financial crisis of the mortgage industry and the subprime markets, 2007 to 2010. It was very difficult to get appointments with CMOs of Fortune 100, CTOs of Fortune 100, 500. No one gave a shit about buying anything that IBM or Google sold during this time, right? They were just worried about staying in business. So one of the things that we did was after we wrote the hook, we put together an amazing, irresistible offer. Hey, at IBM, we're going to give you a free $100,000 audit strategy and execution plan to help you optimize all of your digital website commerce. So basically, we would put together a complimentary strategy, execution plan, audit, some type of irresistible offer for them to meet with us to learn more. And then, yes, we have to invest the time, energy, and effort to do that deal. But guess what? When they're not meeting with all of your competition and they're meeting with you because you put together this irresistible free offer or package to learn about their business, to give them a strategy and execution plan, you get to put together that $100,000 or $10,000 or $1,000 plan, audit, strategy, execution plan, roadmap, revenue results, ROI predictions, you name it. For you to put that together, you have to get intimate with all the decision makers, the influencers, the key buyers at the company. You have to get data from them. You have to learn their landscape internally and externally. While you're doing this free strategy, this free audit for them, you're learning about their business, you're working with their key decision makers. And then when you present the audit, the strategy, the execution plan to take them from New York City in the winter or in the summer where it's terrible to a beautiful island on the beach, their biggest desires, their biggest dreams, when you show them that plan to take them from their biggest pain to their biggest desire and all the revenue and results that they would generate and the small investment that it would take for them to make with you to execute that plan. One, they spend all their time and effort with you, months putting together this strategy. Two, they haven't been meeting with your competitors. Three, when they're like, holy shit, we want to move forward with this deal, with this plan, but we don't know how to do it internally. Let's just work with these guys who invested all their time, effort, capital, energy, and resources to do it. And I use that plan at IBM and I use that plan at Google. Google, we would put together 10,000 complimentary, free paid advertising, audit, strategy, execution plans, and ROI business cases. So if they were spending $1 million a month, I would say, hey, that $1 million a month that's making you $2 million, I know how to take that same $1 million and make you $4 to $5 million. And let me show you with your conversion funnels and your metrics how to do that. And by the way, if you want to do that, if you want to go from spending $1 million and making $2 to spending $1 million and making $4 to $5, I'm going to give you, it only costs us $1 million to do that, right? Or 100,000 or whatever. So it goes hook them with some amazing curiosity, way to do something better, smarter, better, that gets them to their biggest desires. And then offer. What is an offer that takes them from the island of misery to the island of fantasy and happiness, removing their biggest pain and delivering their biggest desires, goals, dreams, KPIs. It's going to cost you time and money. Everything in this world costs time and money. But if you can invest $10,000 and make $100,000, would it be worth it? Yes. If you can invest $100,000 to make $1 million, would it be worth it? Yes. If you can invest $1 million to make 10, would it be worth it? Yes. You need to put skin in the game. You need to deliver a value stack offer and use hooks and irresistible offers with your investment to get people to meet with you, to buy.
Yeah. And I think this is so important. And if you remember at the beginning of the webinar, Brandon, and everybody that's on today, I had mentioned when we're talking about selling and negotiating, right? Where you need to make sure that your sales process is aligned with your negotiation process so that you are selling in a way that supports you in closing these deals at maximum profitability. And Brandon, what you were saying is so, so, so important, because what you're talking about is exactly what we talk about as an institute when we are negotiating our deals. And when we are reaching out to our clients and we're telling them, listen, it's not just you that's suffering. We are all struggling. We are all in the same boat. However, we have a solution. And it's exactly what Brandon is saying. And it's exactly what I want everybody that's on the webinar here to remember, is that you need to lead with an amazing idea, an amazing solution. Why should they, in a pandemic where they're trying to position, where everybody's trying to protect their cash positions, where everybody's trying to stem the churn, to stem the loss, everybody's trying to retain clients and business, why should they spend more money right now with you instead of saving and hoarding and protecting their assets? It's because, as Brandon mentioned, you need to sell them this island of desire. And that island is going to come sooner rather than later. Brandon, this pandemic is going to end, right? It's going to be over at some point. We don't know when, we don't know how, and we don't know what the world is going to look like after. But we know that we need to be there when the dust settles, and we want to make sure our partners and our clients are there when the dust settles. And we need to tell our partners, this is what you need to do in order to survive now. And these are the deals we need to get done if you want to live to see another day when this pandemic clears. And that is absolutely, absolutely critical. And that's the reason, Brandon, your entire sales approach and your sales strategy works so beautifully and so seamlessly, pun intended, with our Schreiner concept of negotiations. Now, I am conscious of time, so I have one question, Brandon.
Oh, yeah, and real quick, Sabine, just before I forget it. So everyone overestimates what they can do it in a year and underestimates what they can do in a decade. Everyone overestimates what they can do in a day and underestimates what they can do in a year. This same goes for the difficult, chaotic economic crashes. Everyone overestimates it will be fixed, it will get better sooner, and underestimates how long this shitstorm will really last. I need everyone on this call to realize, always assume the worst possible scenario and prepare to fight that scenario. So all my investors, right? I've got Amazon, I've got the founders of Google, I've got the evangelists who reported to Steve Jobs, multiple VCs, multiple PE firms. They're we need to prepare for the worst economic landscape ever over the next 24 to 36 months. And I already had a plan. Hey, what if this thing lasts 3 years? So don't smoke the hopium. I call this smoking the hopium. There's a lot of losers out there. 99% of the losers out there, companies that will fail. 96% of businesses go out of business when the economy is good. 98% of businesses, 99% of the businesses will go out of business when the economy is bad, because they overestimate when things are going to get better. So I need you to realize, assume 36 months, it will be a complete shitstorm disaster for 36 months. Okay, the only way to survive and thrive is we have to sell, we have to negotiate, we have to sell to survive. to thrive during this tough time, this will last 36 months. Knowing that if the reality was 36 months, what changes in my business model? What changes? What pivots? What technologies do I need? What pipeline do I need to generate to survive and thrive? What retention strategies do I need to implement? Make sure everyone is on the 3-year timeline. This is going to be 3 years. And then guess what? If you put in the 3, the 5, the 10x the activity, you build the list, you automate selling and marketing, you do these irresistible hooks and offers, and you increase sales by, I'm increasing sales 10 to 15% month over month in the worst economic time ever, because we're doing these things that I'm telling you to do right now. It's because I've prepared that this is going to be a decade-long disaster, and we're putting in the activity to fight that decade-long disaster. But in reality, you really need 36 months. And best part is that's the worst case scenario. It will most likely get way better before that. But get your whole team aligned. It's going to be bad for 3 years. And let's just prepare for the worst to fight like hell through it. And you'll be successful, because it won't be that bad. But you put in the effort and the mindset and all the work to fight it.
Yeah. And I think this is exactly what I was going to ask you for our last question. You talk about overestimating your ability, underestimating what the actual fallout could be. And, we're hearing it now. How could you think to reach out to us? How could you think to sell to us? How could you think to negotiate this kind of deal with this kind of term? Have you been living under a rock, Brandon, for the last 5 months? We are in a global crisis. And you know what? Even when this pandemic is over, and it will end at some point, people will be using it as an excuse, as you mentioned, for 3 years. Following the financial crisis and the subprime mortgage fallout, people referenced that financial crisis well into 2010 and 2011, when I was still selling at that time, and I was doing asset management. So absolutely, I think that's absolutely valuable. And that's something that we talk about as an institute. A lot of the work that we're doing right now is stress testing crisis response plans, stress testing internal infrastructures, and making sure your business plans and your business models and your deals and your decision-making processes internally are stable, are situated, are ready, and are prepared to weather the next 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Because what good is it saving your cash position right now if you are still going to go under 1 year from now, which is a real likelihood, because people are not taking a long-term view to things. So Brandon, I wanted to ask you one last question in 1 minute, 60 seconds. Can you give some parting words of advice for people who are selling in this crisis, who are developing business in this crisis? Maybe for some of the people here that are looking to launch businesses even in a crisis. 60 seconds, what are your pearls of wisdom for getting shit done in a global pandemic?
Pressure creates diamonds, and this is when real salespeople, marketers, entrepreneurs, and companies are born or reinvigorated. Use this opportunity as the opportunity of a lifetime. So the pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. I believe and I see that this is the greatest opportunity of our lifetime to leverage tenacity, intelligence, activity, effort, inventions, persistence. Like, we can literally create anything that we want to create during this time period. This is the greatest opportunity of our lifetime. Expenses are down across the board for marketing, for sales. The talent pool is the largest it will ever be to hire talent. There are less people trying to sell to other people right now. So what that means is you can get talent the cheapest possible right now. You could spend on advertising, marketing, expansion as cheap as possible right now. You can hire a sales team, build a sales team, increase your activity in sales, and your connection rates and conversion rates, if you're using platforms like Seamless.ai, are going to be as high as possible. While 99% of America and these companies retreat, you're in expansion, connecting with your ideal buyers, pitching your ideal prospects, and closing deals. this is the opportunity of a lifetime. And you just have to believe that anything's possible right now. It's going to take way more work than you ever imagined. It will be way harder and way worse than you ever imagined. Have a decade-long mindset. I'm going to fight like hell for 10 years through this thing. Our team is going to put in 10 years worth of effort. We're going to go on the 20-mile march every day. The daily effort, the daily activity, repeated over time, 5 to 10x to get to where we need to go, and you will win. Right now, it is our opportunity of a lifetime, and we've got this lifetime of an opportunity to capitalize on it. And I can't wait to see how successful all of you are leveraging strategies that we're sharing, strategies that the Schraner, Negotiation Institute is sharing with you. You are going to be successful. You will get through this. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a community of great people, and we'll fight like hell, and we're going to come out better on the other side. And guess what? This is the bottom of the top. Now it's time to climb the ladder to the top, and let's survive and thrive. Let's prosper. And I can't wait to climb the ladder, the pyramid, to the top of the empire. It's going to be amazing.
Amazing. And I'm just laughing, thinking of your don't smoke the hopium, because let's keep our eyes on the prize. Let's keep focused on our targets. Let's keep focused on making that money, that revenue, on innovating and delivering ideas, solutions, and innovations to our clients and to our partners. Brandon Bornancin, founder and CEO, Seamless.ai, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It was such an immense pleasure and an honor to have you on with us today. For those of you that are interested in continuing the conversation, Brandon will be speaking live at the New York City N Conference 2020, November 13th at the Park Hyatt. Brandon, thank you so much for being here with us today. And thank you for also graciously offering to share some of your slides with our participants who have joined our webinar today.
Thank you, everyone. Truly appreciate the time. I look forward to connecting with you on LinkedIn. Also, we'll work with the team to try to get you copies of our books. And let's make this next year your biggest and best yet. Also, feel free to join my platform for daily strategies, tips, best practices on how to fight this crisis at Seamless.ai for free. That's Seamless.ai. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. And for those of you that are interested in joining our upcoming webinars, this is the upcoming schedule for May and June. To register for any of these, please email miguel.guerrero@schreiner.com. A big shout out to the Schreiner team around the world that have joined. James, Daisy, Miguel, Hero, Adam, thank you very much. If any of you would like to get in touch with us, you can email any of us here. These are our contacts. This is me. And of course, we thank you for taking the time wherever you are all over the world. Be well, be healthy, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you all again very soon in person. Have a great day, guys.